How you doing? Lawrence McKendall with Scubalicious Ultimate, and this is Flamecast number 4. And I got a couple of cool guys here, Cohen and Lior Givol, and they're the San Francisco Flamethrower teammates. So before we jump into this really cool Flamecast, what's up with the solar eclipse? Did you guys check that out?
Unfortunately, I was on a flight back from Chicago. I was out at a tournament this weekend for club, so just saw a little dark outside the window. That's about it.
I mean, I tried to check it out. I was in Mill Valley, right outside San Francisco, and it was really cloudy and couldn't see anything. So I missed it, but saw live stream, which was great.
Well, they were being productive with their time. I was the fool on top of Mount Tam in the torrential wind, and I saw minimal stuff. So there was hope there. But there was a number of friends on Facebook out there that were showing off being at the total eclipse epicenter. So I'm kind of jealous. So we digress. So I've got two friends here, Flamethrowers. We're going to talk about a number of things about them as buddies, how they started with the sport. But before we jump into that, they've got the AUDL Championship coming up this weekend, and the Flamethrowers finished up a really nice year, strong. And tell me, what was it like? You had a steady year, you dipped, you didn't lead, you came from behind. So closing out the year, what was the mentality?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the last half of the season, we really started to piece things together, get some chemistry with a group of guys that we haven't necessarily all worked together with, and really dialed in our defense and our offensive look. So coming into this weekend, we're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I think at the end, we started having, all of our offensive players there and starting to gel. And I think it takes time. Like, we were trying different players out at different positions, right, different looks, and we knew by the end of the season that we would have really the lines that we wanted, the offensive plays that we wanted, and the defensive teams that we wanted out there, and ended up working out pretty well.
So you were mentioning about Greg. You were mentioning that you were trying different lines. That wasn't necessarily by choice. In some weekends, you were forced into finding creative lines.
Yeah.
So what was that like? When you saw who was lining up and who was showing up, did you know a week ahead of time, or did you roll into the game and?
Well, we are lucky to on the Flamethrowers have a lot of top talent. We have a lot of players that were on the the Worlds team that just won Worlds. We had a lot of players on the beach teams that a few of them also won Worlds, and we have a lot of players playing club as well. So there's a lot going on. A lot of people are traveling, so you can't always get the 20 that you want. That being said, though, there are some games where we had 16, some games where we had 17, 18, but I think the thing that helped with that, what's good about that, was we kept trying new people, and we found out Cody has the greatest pulls that we've ever seen, and that is just a dagger to teams. And players like Sawyer and Antoine and Lior got a lot of playing time and illustrated the top players that they are, and the top defensive players that they are especially. So I think it was really positive.
Yeah, very good. I'm glad you mentioned that. I played with Cody during Winter League, and he would throw it over the parking lot. It was crazy. I'm glad he was in a position. Why he played in Winter League, I have no idea. I'm glad that he ended up playing Flamethrowers. That was nice.
I can't believe how far that.
It's crazy. So I wanted to throw him over the crowd, though. He kept throwing the other way. So I wanted that freak show to go out over the crowd. Right? That would have been good.
Oh, my goodness,
yeah, I'm funny you mentioned that. So tell me about when you were looking at Lior, looking at the season and closing out. What was your approach to the game? What was the coach's strategy? What was Yo's strategy for the last 3 or 4 games?
Yeah, I think at that point, as Greg mentioned, before then we were kind of switching people around. Antoine got a few looks on offense. Even I played a game on offense against Vancouver, so that was a fun experience for me.
You played well.
Yeah, it was fun.
Why does he say like he's all surprised?
Because
you played well. Yeah.
You don't really get as many stats playing on defense, okay, cool. So it's kind of nice switching it around.
Thankless job.
Yeah.
Thankless job for sure. But coming into the last few games, we weren't giving anything. The Spiders had a hell of a season. The Aviators played really well. So coming to those last few games in the postseason, we had our work cut out for us, and I think Yo was able to piece together the people that worked best together at the time that we needed it.
Right. Yeah. So the Aviators come up, the last game of the season, your championship Western Division champion. And I watched how they approached the Spider game, and it was very interesting. They played a really nice AUDL approach. They got to the disc quick, and they went to the end zone quick. And so it looked like, is that a type of style that the Flamethrowers do here, or were you trying to match their intensity? Because they're very quick to attack, and it looked like you were trying to punch, do their style.
I think there are times where, when a team starts out hot, which the Aviators started out hot in our game, that, potentially in the beginning, the other team kind of goes with their plan, and I think it took us a second, we had to realize, all right, let's play our game, let's not play their game. So yeah, I would say maybe a little bit of that. I don't think that was the plan necessarily or what we wanted to do, but it certainly looked like that. We were hucking a lot, overthrowing a lot of people, or underthrowing completely and allowing them just to catch block it. What I would say though is, we pretty quickly realized, let's go play our game. Our offense then started destroying. I don't know. Joel is always open. He's always a free reset, but our cutters, Marcelo, of course, who I think just got rated as like top cutter in the West or something like that.
Nice player, yeah.
The guy is uncoverable, but our players just started getting undercuts, and we were getting 5, 6 downfield cuts and scoring easily.
Right. And I'm glad you pointed it out, because it once you righted the ship and went to go and play in your game, it was very methodical, and you had to pick in the field where you wanted to go. What was was it nervous, or was it just every other game? It was just like another game for you?
Yeah. Well, this is my second AUDL season now, and compared to the first time stepping on the field last year, to now at this point in the season, having gone through a club season with Revolver this past year, the nerves kind of went away, which is nice. So you just got to go in there and got to play your game, and you have all those teammates around you to support you doing that. So
and they
make it easy.
So when you're playing with high-level players, what type of margin? You tell people how to throw to space. You have extra space when you have athletes, when you're both athletes. So when you make a solid throw, you have the athleticism to mop up any missed throws? Or when you were playing your few times, do you throw with more confidence? That your margin of error is greater?
They definitely could clean it up if need be, but
Antoine, especially.
Yeah, it's tough. When you throw an Antoine, I definitely get Antoine eyes a few times.
The whole end zone is...
just see him going deep, you just want to huck it. Yeah. But in general, I'd say it's not really something you think about too much. You're just trying to get the disc to that person.
Good.
But
it's funny. I actually, when I play with higher level players, I tend to reel in what I'm doing more often. I don't huck as much. I take my shots more methodically, and I think it's the idea that there are other players that can also shoot. There are other players that are better throwers than me on the team. So I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to let them do their job. For instance, if Cassidy's on a defensive line with me and I catch an under and there's Twan's going deep, I'd prefer to dump it to Cass to let Cass throw the deep shot rather than me.
Yeah,
if Lukas Dolman's the same way, and I think that's just a testament to what we've built as a program, both Revolver, Flamethrowers, trusting your role and succeeding in that role.
Now remember, please, you want to add on to that?
No, you kind of hit it on the nail there. You're just kind of a cog in a machine, and everyone's there to support you and play what they are good at. And you do what you're good at.
That's very cool. Greg, thank you for bailing me out of that whack question.
Leor's
like,
hey, you don't
the heck? Okay, good. Don't mess with you. So
you just had to think about the answer a little bit. We're good.
Right.
So going back, you're going to the championship weekend. We talked about blurring the lines between open and club and AUDL, and you just want to play high level ball regardless, high level disc. Same approach to you?
Yeah, it's definitely fun every time being out there. It's pretty cool in pro to go out and have a crowd in front of you. Coming into this will be my first championship weekend, so I'm really excited to see the crowd out there. Even in Toronto earlier this year, there's a lot of people. The crowd was roaring,
Great
and it's going to be fun to play in front of those people.
Should have had that game.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll see him again.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say, I've been fortunate enough to play in 2 championship weekends and actually win 2 with the Spiders, and championship weekend, there's nothing like it. there's a feeling there. It's you get nervous, and it's the best. I love being nervous at those games.
Well, you were mentioning the Avaya Stadium, just as I said. I mean, if you never
goodness,
had a chance
beautiful.
to see, it was like the perfect ultimate Frisbee stadium. We had the planes flying in with the added level of uniqueness, but it was a nice spectator intimate.
That grass is nice.
It was sweet, very much so.
Oh my goodness,
Loved it. It was beautiful. So I don't know what the stadium's like going to be in Montreal, but
hopefully it's great.
I know the crowds are. I'm assuming based on what I've seen in any AUDL highlight film that the crowds
There's
are
that
going to be.
one highlight of a guy like laying out and he goes like it looks like 40 yards and they're doing it in slow motion and the crowd never ends.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Let's hope Montreal.
It's not just Photoshop; it's true thing. Yeah. Exactly. That's great. So, no, the general your approach for this weekend is just same methodical approach because I mean you're sandwiched between your open schedules. It's just head down, focus on this weekend, and move on.
Yeah, I mean we do have a full roster, which is going to be fantastic.
Nice. Yeah.
That's going to be really fun to play with. We have a few players too that are coming as well. So if we, a few extra players we're bringing over 20. So for instance, if on Sunday we see matchups wise, figuring it out roster wise, what's best for the team, and yeah, I mean we're ready to grind. I think everyone's super excited to go in there and just show them what Bay Area Ultimate is,
Yeah, I would love
exactly.
to see the matchup with the Roughnecks. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. Let's get through this first game first.
Very good.
But yeah, I've been texting Lucas and Antoine all week, just getting so excited. Texting him flame on randomly, intermittently through the day.
Nice.
So that's really the focus of going into this weekend. Club and all that. Worry about that later. This is about the Flamers.
Awesome.
We got to get Sawyer to do another one of his great cheers. I don't know if you saw that on Facebook.
I have not. No. Well, hopefully, what we'll do, we'll post that cheer on Scubalicious. This is good.
It's good.
If you want to get excited, that'll get you going.
Lucas even tweeted out, "I've never been more pumped in my life."
Very cool. So just as this is Lukas Dolman, who you say has the most fiery, because we talked about coaches and something chill and something. When does it take time to sort of put a shoe fire and brimstone? When you say Lukas.
Yeah.
He's at fire and brimstone.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely between Lucas and this guy over here. They have their fair share of halftime speeches, quarter speeches. Really, it's something about just getting everyone amped and going. And Yo is a more mellow guy, so it's kind of nice to see that balance coming from the captains and really bringing the fire there.
Yeah, Lucas is definitely someone I look up to in terms of bringing that fire. There are times where the energy is just so low. Everything seems to be going wrong. And I don't know where he thinks of. I remember one time he just said, don't be the thermometer, be the thermostat. You set the heat.
Wow.
And I was just like, yeah, like where's that come from? You know what I mean? Is he writing these down in a diary
very
or something?
Nice, exactly.
But anyways, he brings a lot of fire, and I mean he really demonstrates great leadership the entire game.
So let's, because I want to get back into why you guys are buddies, so it started. But let me ask a second. When do you go? As I've had coaches go to 11, the second point of a tournament. You're like, dude, why are you at 11? This is just the second point in the first game.
11 pretty early.
So it doesn't really. So it doesn't take much. Okay.
I think it depends on the point. You know what I mean? If we see if our D line starts out and you see 3 just huge bids, we don't get any of them, but we're bodying up, we're grinding. I think Lucas is going to get to 11 real quick, and he gets fired up by that. At the same time, if we're just lackadaisical and we're just not even working, we're just letting them get 10 yards in front of us and get unders for days, I think that'll also bring him to 11.
Different type of 11, but he's always got the fire going. Yeah. It depends the moment of the game when he's going to bring it out.
Guys dialed.
And so when does your 11 come out?
I try to reel it in a bit. I probably don't do it too well. Maybe in my own head I think I am reeling it in, but I would say usually when a few breaks have been rattled off, that's when I'm always telling the D-line, like, it's on us. It's on us. Every time our offense gets broken, it's like, hey, this is our turn now. We're going to get there, and it's going to be us that are going to have to win this game. Let's go do it.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah, there's nothing more exhilarating than getting a few breaks in a row, everyone's on the same page, really dialed in and fired up. So it doesn't necessarily always have to come from Greg.
True.
But I think me, him, and Lucas kind of come from that same branch where we're just always kind of focused in and want to bring out that rage, hopefully in a positive way. But
sometimes it gets a little
exactly.
negative, But hey, that's what a team is.
Well, I hope, on the back end of this weekend, we'll know the results and you'll be coming back. The Flamethrowers' first championship and your third.
Yeah, pretty cool.
It would be nice, exactly. But yes.
Cool.
The
last year I was a little frustrated that we didn't get there. But hey, we're here now and it's got to take it to Madison. Got to play Madison to our best. They're a solid team.
This will be good to see. So, okay, let's change gears. These guys are childhood chums. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this is your history. We want to get it right, because I think it's really interesting. So who wants to start out on this journey? Because I know it started out with Newman Camp. Or at least that's where both of you guys started your story in Newman Camp. Did it start before that, or did it really gel in Newman Camp?
Yeah, I think it started at Newman. The camp somehow produced so many Ultimate Frisbee players throughout the years. Most of them stopped in college Ultimate, but a few of us kind of made it through to the next level there. But I just remember as a camper.
Is this California? Where was this camp?
Yeah, this is in Northern California in Santa Rosa.
Okay.
URJ
Camp Newman.
Yeah, Jewish summer camp.
Great place. The kids there love Frisbee. Not sure how it first got introduced, but...
I mean, it's the easiest sport. All you need is a field and a disc and people. Easiest sport to play.
Yeah, I guess so. And then through the years, you just grow up playing with your friends, mostly just pickup style. And every Friday on Shabbat, there's a game between the counselors in training and the counselors. And as a camper, you're sitting on the field, hundreds of kids all watching this game going on. Awesome. And nothing's more exhilarating.
How many hundreds?
Well, there's about, I think at a time, 700.
That's crazy.
People at camp.
So you're thinking like a camp, and there's like maybe 50 people, maybe when the parents come to pick up the kids. But 700 is crazy.
It's the event. It's a resident camp. I mean, I remember sitting on the sidelines and watching, just waiting for my chance to be a CIT. Just watching players like
counselor in training.
Yeah. These these names are not going to make any sense, but like Dan Bear, Jake Hirsch, like some of the best players in history, Ari Vered, and I was like, I want to be those guys. I want to play against them. That's all I wanted. Nice. And yeah, it's quite an experience.
So this is Shabbat. Was this like the last day of camp, or every Shabbat you had this game?
Yeah, so CITs and staff are there for 8 weeks, and it is a resident camp, so you're there for the entire time. So every single Friday, basically at 3:30, right? 3:30 p.m.?
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. The game would go for an hour, and it was whoever won within the time limit.
I'm jealous.
And the record throughout the 8 games of the summer is engraved in camp history. All the campers know all the best CIT classes that produce the most wins out of the counselors.
Or the best players.
Yeah, because the CITs are always the underdogs. But
always. Except for 2 years.
Yeah, there's the one famous undefeated year where the CITs won.
2000.
Yeah.
So there was a game much like when the Dream Team, I don't know if you heard about that closed game.
Of course.
It was Jordan against Magic. This sounds like a game someone took place at this camp one year. An infamous game.
Well, so...
Do you know what I'm talking about?
The exact game?
Well, maybe go.
So, Lior, when he was a CIT, again, it's like a big deal if CITs win.
What year is this?
This is, when were you CIT? 2011?
Yeah, 2011.
2011. So this is in 2011. I was a CIT in 2009, and my team tied, and that was the biggest deal ever. We were so pumped on that. And so Lior's team, they were really good. And
it's 2 years behind, right?
Yeah,
2 years
behind. And the thing was being on staff, like when you're CIT, you play as much as you want, especially if you're one of the better players. Like, CITs want to win really badly, so they just put in the best players. As a staff member, you play like 4 points, probably 2. I would say on average, I got about 4 points, per those games. And Lior's CIT team was running house. They won 3.
Yeah, we won 3, but
his memory gets vivid now.
1-3, tied 3, and it was tied 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1-3, tied 4, and then it was the final game of the season. So the CITs were undefeated. And we were, as staff, we were so frustrated. We are not allowing this to happen. So what happened was the staff put Seth Eisenberg, who also played at Santa Cruz with Lior and I. Oh, sorry, I guess I ruined that.
Yeah.
Anyways, a little foreshadowing. But anyway, so they were just putting Seth and I in as much as possible. I thought I was going to throw up because I was so tired. And
we were about to win this game.
About to win. It was a tie game.
Yeah, it was a very close game, and I still remember it vividly. I think you caught a hammer, right?
No, it was not a hammer.
It was
Ari Barrett. He had it, so it was a tie game, and it was like the game winning point.
Yeah.
And Ari I hucked it to me, and Brandon Brown was on me, and I laid out in the end zone to catch it.
Oh, it's devastating.
I remember your whole class hated me for so long.
I think it literally brought us to tears. This is how meaningful it was to us. So
I looked at Lior. So, were you about to come to Santa Cruz?
I think the next year is when I found out I was coming to Santa Cruz.
All right. Well, I just remember Lior was devastated. I remember looking at him, and he was absolutely devastated.
All we wanted to do was win, and Greg got to ruin our dreams.
Bird talking
There's a great
about
photo of it too. There's a really good photo of me catching the frisbee.
Yeah, and just destroying all our childhood dreams of being undefeated.
Nice.
Oh my gosh! I remember, and then funny enough, 4 months later, there was this camp retreat thing that basically it's just like an alumni kind of thing. It was a West Coast party or whatever.
Okay.
And I was the counselor, the person that was in cabin with all of his CIT guys. And I remember apologizing at that event, hey guys, I'm sorry. I know you wanted that really badly, but I had to. We couldn't lose every game as a staff.
No, that's a beautiful thing. I'm in awe that there were 700 people. I mean, that just built in to get stoked over. And then you have this drama. Any lasting scarring memories?
Oh, now that we're talking about it again, it takes me back. It takes me back.
I will say this. I mean, it's so funny. I only tied a game, and that tie was one of the happiest sports moments of my entire life. But when you're a camper, so the year before CIT is called AUDL, and if you're a big Frisbee guys like Lior and I, all you do is think about that. And the best day of camp was when you woke up Friday morning and you knew you had a game that day, right?
Yeah.
Those are the moments. That's beautiful. Absolutely.
When you just knew, and you're preparing. I was preparing with my good friend who's still my great friend. His name's Andrew Kaiser. We were preparing, writing lines out and figuring out offenses. We didn't know what a staff was. That's where it all started. That's where the love started.
Yeah, surprising how much we cared about it without knowing. Really anything about Ultimate.
I remember I told you that summer, because I had played 1 year of college.
I think you were just
I
done
played
your
1 year of
freshman
college,
year.
and I told Lior and some of his CITs, I was like, look, if staff learned how to play zone, or if you guys learned how to play zone, no one would ever score. No, and Lior was like, that's just not true. That's not true, not at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, trust me, in camp, no one would score. It's just not.
So you gave him advanced. So you gave that before the infamous game?
Well,
we didn't know what it means.
Yeah, so you didn't know. Okay,
he was
so you handed the keys.
He was
okay, good. All right, cool.
The point is, I was in denial of what real Ultimate could be.
Yeah.
All right, well, good. So you're okay. That's what it. All right, so that was great. It was great to see a freaking Frag go back and forth and tell the story. It's awesome. So, when was the last time you recounted that game together?
This is the first time.
That's probably it. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Since maybe.
Probably since it happened.
I would
Maybe in Santa Cruz we talked about it once or twice,
but
that's
maybe
fun.
Not in depth. How about that?
Yeah, sure. No, but sometimes in a couple beers, you remember that time. So, okay.
That's true.
So things transitioned. You were at the Slugs.
Yeah.
You were Santa Cruz.
I was heavily recruiting 2 people from the CIT class.
So how did that look? I mean, you were naturally going to play Ultimate at Santa Cruz?
Mm-hmm. So not exactly. When I was deciding to go to college, I was playing baseball a lot, and I was figuring out if I wanted to play in college, and then I just kind of lost the love for it. Went to Santa Cruz because one of my best friends was there, and I visited him, and I just fell in love with the school. And so actually one of our teammates, who was 1 year older than me, was playing on the team. He said, yeah, you should come try out. He went to Camp Newman as well, and he said you should come try out and see what it's like. And, I loved Camp Ultimate, so I was pretty primed to do it.
Nice.
And Seth, who I mentioned earlier, and I were CITs together. We tried out, and the first day of tryouts was ridiculous. It was so hot. It was super hot. The returners were doing a hill workout in the distance on this one Santa Cruz hill, and we were just running constantly. And I mean, whoever's played Ultimate knows that tryouts in college, the returners that are helping with the tryouts are just throwing and handling, and everyone else is just cutting and cutting and cutting. I thought I was going to puke. I remember Seth and I looked at each other and we're like, I think we should play B team. I don't want to play A team.
Wow.
But yeah, so, ended up making the team, and at the time they were 5th, 6th in the nation ranked. I mean, Cassidy Rasmussen, Russell Wynn, Devin Anderson, some really top players. And I went to nationals, and I just really loved it that year.
Crazy talent. And so you get there and you start recruiting your friend.
A little bit.
What was in your ear while you're during this game? You were in his ear like you should check it out. When did this sort of recruiting begin?
So I just, obviously I was always trying to get talent and, go to Camp Newman, Jewish
That's
summer
crazy.
camp.
You even think that's a pipeline to... Yeah.
Well, I remember Lior and Daniel Kipnis. Those were the two players. They were talking about coming to Santa Cruz. They were, talking to Seth and I. And I just was like, yeah, man, you guys got to play Ultimate. You're going to love it. I was all for it. And when they, when they were incoming freshmen, I knew I was going to be a captain the next season. So I was even more so like, you guys got to come. I mean, how was it for you?
Yeah, I just remember we both worked at camp the summer I knew I was going to Santa Cruz. And Greg took me aside and really talked to me a lot about it and told me I was throwing my flick incorrectly. Because at the time I was throwing with my 2 fingers apart. And he's like, no, you got to put it together. It's going to be way better for you. Trust me. If you want to make the team, you have to do this. And kind of had that sort of kept me at a shoulder type thing. Like, oh, you're not going to for sure make it.
I was doing that all of the tryouts.
Which unfortunately worked.
So a friend was doing psychological warfare, and that's a sincere friend.
Yeah, Greg's good at that. You'd be surprised. So
hey, I got to motivate you somehow, man.
Yeah, it worked. And then coming into school, going through the whole tryout process, I wasn't sure if I was going to make the team. I was always nervous talking to him about it, but he knew. And now, as a respective captain of the Slugs for 2 years myself, I was for sure going to make the team at the time, but he just couldn't tell me.
There was no
he would not let me know.
God, we had a good team.
And he was the captain of the team. I was also pledging a fraternity at the time, and he was one of the bigger people involved in that process. So pretty much Greg was in charge of me in every aspect of my life for a year.
I was like an associate pledge master or whatever.
Yeah, so it was an interesting year where Greg was just in charge of everything I did.
That's an interesting year. Wow, so this is so awesome, really.
No, I mean, I remember when we were doing the captain meeting with our coach, Daryl Nowman, and we were talking about it, like the incoming freshmen that were going to make the team, and everyone was like, oh yeah, you already told, Kippy and Lior that they made the team. And I was like, no, I can't do that. But no, they were going to make the team the whole time. I mean, recruiting with Ultimate's weird. It's hard to explain how much of a commitment it is, especially for a sport that isn't a top tier sport. Mm-hmm. We're practicing 4 or 5 times a week, working out every day, leaving for weekends in long car rides. I mean, every Ultimate player knows what it's like. And when you do drink the Kool-Aid a little bit and start understanding it, and luckily the Kool-Aid happened at Chico for most players. That's one of the tournaments that the Slugs go to. That's where people really kind of fall in love with the sport and realize, like, this is a real thing. I want to dedicate my college life to this.
So a couple things. Feel free to chime in if I...
Yeah, no, go for it.
Okay, so you talk about Daryl as a coach. He came up. How... We were talking about fire and brimstone, people that can shape the emotions of a team. When I was talking with you, Greg, you talked about, he came up as someone who was really important in your development. And I assume that probably led to you as well, being the coach of the Slugs. Can you talk about the coaching aspect of your development?
Yeah, definitely.
Because you got good quick. Relatively speaking, there's been people playing a while at the sport, and that's good to have a good coach.
Right. I mean, Greg and I kind of started around the same time, getting really serious about Ultimate, and a big part of the players we are today is Daryl, and I'm sure Cassidy and Russell and all these other, Danny Karlinski, all these other Slugs that went through the program and worked closely with him, kind of understand and are on the same page about that. I could call him today and ask him about anything. He is an incredible person and awesome family, great people, and he just really shaped and taught me a lot of values about not only life, but just the way to play the game, and really harped on fundamentals. And that's definitely what carried, at least me personally as a player, to the next level, was having those 7 a.m. phone calls where he'd call me before he goes into work, just talking about Ultimate for an hour, and I'd love every second of it.
Yeah, Daryl is one of the people that, I mean, obviously his goal is to, I mean, in our minds, his goal is to make us a better team.
Sure.
But really, he makes us better men. I mean, I matured so much because he was coaching me. And he just taught me so much. And the thing that I think I took from Daryl most is the teams he decides to coach. So there are times, I mean, Daryl has 2 kids of his own. He has his own family. He has a very, he's a doctor. He's working all the time, but he always dedicates a lot of time, for free. He doesn't get paid to coach us, the Slugs. And he always wants projects. You know what I mean? And I remember thinking when all the 13 seniors, my freshman year, after we went to nationals, when they graduated and left, I remember thinking, like, he's not going to want to coach us. We're not going to be good. But the guy that was there was Daryl, and the reason he came back was because he's like, no, I don't care about winning. Winning will happen. Winning's going to happen if I work with you. Of course, come on.
Yeah.
What I care about is, making sure that you're just better people. Yeah. And it really comes out. I mean, the guy's a spectacular man, and I'm really happy that I was able to be coached by him, and especially captain, 2 teams that he coached.
Yeah, he just is in love with the process. He wouldn't come in and want to coach a team that is already really developed, doesn't care about any of the skills associated with it. All he cares about is your desire to want to learn and want to work hard. Nice. And he could take that and make you into an incredible player.
There are some great Daryl moments too. I mean, some of the best that probably are not safe.
Okay, really? We'll do it off camera. Okay. Good, okay.
We can tell you a lot of Daryl stories.
I'm very curious, very cool. So Lior, you mentioned you had an hour conversation. What is going down that couldn't happen in 5 minutes? It took an hour. Was it a discussion, high-level theory? What can you share about those conversations?
It ranges from everything, from strategy to the team to dealing with certain personnel we're working with. Because the thing about college ultimate, at least at schools like Santa Cruz, is at the end of the day, you can't force anybody to do anything. You have all these different types of personalities. There's those that are like Greg and I that want to work, just are workhorses and want to grind away. But there's people that are naturally good that just want to sit and throw the whole time. Maybe that's a little bit sillier, but just kind of echoing and kind of this conversation.
He's playing great this season.
Yeah, I guess Brett Peterson is one of those guys.
Yes.
Very naturally talented. Really fun teammate, but just has a different process than everybody.
Yeah.
So the conversation,
he's playing great.
He's fantastic this year. But just talking with Daryl, how everybody's different and kind of going through the process with working with these different types of people, and not getting frustrated by it.
Nice.
So
one of my favorite stories that I tell people about Daryl is when it was my day 2 of my senior year at regionals. We're about to go play Davis, who had Eli Kearns and Nathan White, who Nathan had just won a championship with Revolver. Eli was, arguably the best player in the region. But anyways, Daryl asked me right before the game, about 5 minutes before the game, he came up to me and he just said, "Hey, are you nervous?" I was like, "Yeah, I am. Yeah." He's like, "Good. You should be nervous. Why would you be doing this if you weren't nervous?" Yeah. And it just kind of, put it in perspective. That's something that he did really well. He put a lot of things in perspective and kind of turned your thoughts on something and how to think about something.
No, I like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you're nervous, it shows you care.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's an awesome story. So, Greg mentioned that you were playing Nathan White, was it?
Davis Dogs.
Yeah. You had shed him. You had demonstrated. So during this time, because I want to segue into you became a defensive specialist. Was that sort of the watershed moment, a high level moment of say that was your defining moment? I'm a stopper.
I think that was probably the best game I'd played at my point in my ultimate career, and I still had no idea what was going on offensively. But
so true.
all I really,
he was a sophomore.
All I really knew was to
you get this back to me.
was to work hard and grind out there. And for our game against Davis, I was guarding Nathan, and he'd come off a year of Revolver. It was definitely intimidating, but aside from fouling him a lot, I ended up playing pretty good defense on him.
So the night before, when you were playing Davis, and Daryl Daryl and I were going over matchups. And so we thought what we needed to do was stop Nathan and Eli. And I was going to cover Eli the whole game, and that was one of the most fun matchups, game-wise, that I've ever been a part of. I hope Eli will say the same thing.
Yes.
And we were trying to figure out who to put on Nathan. And Daryl's just, we're putting Lior. Lior's going to piss Nathan off. And he did that exactly. And during the game, so Daryl, obviously coach of the Slugs, Kevin Cisna was the coach of Davis back at that time. And Daryl and Cisna are actually really close friends, really great buddies. And so there was one point where Lior was just bumping Nate on the mark. And Nate kept calling contact over and over again. And at the point was over, and Cisna is yelling, like, stop bumping our marks, like, yelling at the observers, like, are you kidding me? Like, they gotta stop their cheating. And Daryl goes right into his face and just goes like this. Just right as he's yelling, just like that.
Wow. Very nice. So let me ask you about being a defender, because you're both strong. So what is your approach to locking down somebody? How do you train for that?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, couldn't really tell you. I just knew to run around and play hard. But looking at it now,
it's still the case today. Is that
I mean, yeah, you still got to run around and play hard, but you could definitely put a little bit more thought into it and dictate where your person's going, not just follow them around. So that's definitely an approach I take into every matchup I sit with. I'm just trying to gear him a certain way and not let him touch the disc. And that's my goal at the end of the day. And I'm happy whether they score or not if I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of touched base before this, but so my first year on Revolver, I played defense. I was on the D-line, and I just wasn't the player that I wanted to be. After the season, the coaches and captains told me that I needed to be in better shape. I needed to be faster, jump higher. And the first thing I did was 2 weeks after Nationals, I got a workout regimen from a trainer that in San Diego that I guess has trained some guys for the NFL Combine in the past and trains guys for a living, obviously. And he gave me this workout, and what I did was I gave him videos of Ultimate, and I gave him a lot of defensive videos. I gave him, I remember a video of Joel Schlockett on the Flamethrowers, guarding a dump, and it was just like a mini clip of him. And I think I gave him a video of Russell, covering a deep guy that's cutting deep and under, and then obviously videos of myself, and then just games of Ultimate. And what he did was look at all the videotape, went through the highlights, went through the clips, and then created a workout based off of that. And the first thing I said was I want to have a wide receiver workout. Yeah. I thought that would translate well.
That was interesting, yes.
Yeah.
Please.
And then he kind of took that, and made it more for Ultimate. And actually, what is cool is Lior and myself, we both do this workout. Now, I gave the workout to Lior this past year, and you experienced the change recently. What is it? What would you say it's like?
Yeah, I feel like I'm playing at a different level than I was at this point last year. Just every step feels stronger, to jump higher, don't get tired. So I can thank him enough for that resource. And when I first came back from traveling for a bit after last club season, first thing I did when I got up to the Bay was go drive over to Berkeley and work out with Greg as many times as I can, learn what I need to learn. And from there, just put in the reps. And right before I came here today, I just did one of those workouts. So
very cool.
Yeah, and it's something again we touched a bit upon too. Is I was doing this workout for 7-8 months. Before it was something crazy like that before tryouts, because I was trying to peak at tryouts because I really obviously wanted to show the team that I was a different player. And it's a grind. It was a grind. Looking in the mirror, every single day, waking up at 5 a.m. and lifting in the mirror and not always hitting your PRs. And I remember you asked me the question, like, how was it like being a pro athlete kind of thing? And I was kind of like, it was actually the opposite. I felt like at times I wasn't good enough.
Sure.
So I will say that the moment that I felt like I had done this whole workout, obviously made the team and played the Spiders that year, the moment that I felt like I achieved something, truly achieved it, was when we went to Via Stadium. Yeah, that was the one, and they won a championship there, and I don't know, that was a pretty special moment.
So I'm glad you told that story. So let me go back to the actual training. there's lifting.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about 5 a.m. lifting. What were, and this is, having played enough ultimate myself, there's a lot of movements like wide receiver that you have to put in time in the lab. It becomes second nature. If you play occasionally, it's not a natural movement to, do wide receiver stuff. Maybe go up to catch the disc, but from a defensive back situation.
Yeah. Yes.
What are some of the things that you were doing that allowed you to be a defensive back as a second nature, defensive wise?
I think it's a mix of a lot of powerlifting as well as mobility work. Yeah. That's often overlooked when it comes to weightlifting, is really making sure your hips are flexible. You're doing a lot of stretching, you're rolling out, and that's something that I've incorporated a lot as opposed to previous workouts that I've done, is actually that mobility work and being able to turn your hips in a direction quicker is bounds helpful for ultimate.
Yeah.
A lot of jumping as well. A lot of jumping, box jumps, and then with those power lifts, like cleans, snatches, those are all building jumping capability. And then so the workout is supposed to be 3 days on the 3 days in the gym, 3 days on the field. And the 3 days on the field, one's explosive, one's top speed, and one's lateral speed. And so every single day it takes about 45 minutes to an hour. There's for lateral speed, it's a lot of change of direction as well. And there's a lot of cone drills, a lot of ladder work, tons of ladder work. And for instance, when I brought the idea and the videos to my trainer, there was one thing he said right away is like, you have to be able to turn completely around extremely quickly. Like if you're in the back of the stack and there's a hook that goes off and you're poaching off, he explained it a little bit differently from his perspective, but being able to turn around and completely turn your hips is something to build upon.
And when you mention that's where I come back to the wide receiver. He really looked at those moves that made you more effective.
Yep.
Minimal. How would you say you needed to turn on a dime? But he gave you tips in order to maximize.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very interesting to hear you go through that.
Well, it's funny. So especially when he was teaching me top speed, the first thing he did was film my running form, and we looked at it, and he was like, we're going to change all of this. And so he taught me a bunch of these like workouts and a bunch of these, little things that I would never think of doing. Sure. And I was getting frustrated. I was getting extremely frustrated. It was about 3 weeks of working with him in San Diego, and then I was coming back to the Bay. So he had to teach everything to me in 3 weeks. And then obviously I could ping him videos and ideas. But what he then said, I was getting really frustrated. I remember on the field we were working on, and he said, stop. Look, if I told you to play Mozart right now, would you be able to do it? Like, no, of course not. I don't play piano. And he's like, that's exactly what we're doing. We are reteaching you. It's even harder. We're reteaching you how to run. We're starting from pretty much nothing. You have terrible running form. We need to make your running form so much better. All right? And, just got to trust in the process, as 76ers would say.
Yeah, trust in the process.
Yeah, and Oakland Gorilla this year, so we kind of been capitalizing that same mentality as well.
Yeah.
No, so and those are the things that I'm glad you pointed out, because those are the differentiators to make it to the next level. I mean, when you're grinding, that's a lot of the stuff is the unsexy part of the sport. The sexy part is get out and throw the disc, but when you want to make the next level, it's those things that allow you to hoist the trophy more times than not, or at least be in part of the conversation more times than not.
And they're in Montreal.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Very good. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So you guys end up playing little club, little pro together. You've seen a very unique arc in your careers, and so it's kind of cool. So do you like turn to each other and go, this is kind of cool? Or you just go about it just every day, just drink your latte and no reminiscing about?
I would say something that Lior and I think it's one of the positive aspects and negative aspects of our friendship, but we're always unsatisfied. You know what I mean? Like, even though we made it to Montreal, it's always about the next thing. It's always about the next thing. So there are times where like, yeah, we're also extremely competitive, but we were both captains, and we always argue about who was the better captain. And we're playing pro now, and it's just like, all right, who had a better game? But it's more, we always, I think both of us are extremely team-oriented players, and I think for me, especially, and I guarantee Lior would say the same thing, but it's all about making sure the team wins a championship rather than our own personal success.
Yeah, definitely. And I think to build on that is you could affect what you're able to control, and that's putting in the work in the gym to make sure that team is going to be successful and do what you can for that. And it's funny, Greg and I always debate about which college team of ours would beat each other in a game.
There's no chance we wouldn't.
I'd say I had a different pool of people to work with that weren't necessarily as talented, that grinded harder.
Okay.
So in
Would you be able to guard Justin?
a game best of 3, he would win. But best of 1, my team would win.
Oh no, Daryl said best of 1, ours would definitely win.
Maybe it was the other way around. We'd have to ask Daryl, but we even went to Daryl on
Here's
this.
the thing. I would put your sophomore self on you, and he would foul you, and you would get so frustrated. That's the thing. And that's the thing. And then you wouldn't be able to guard Justin or Adrian. Just come on.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. We've had lengthy conversations.
This is the psychological warfare he plays on. I would put you on you.
I would make sure young Lior would crush you.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I wasn't that good back then. I don't know. You might be talking me up too much.
Nice. So let's talk about. I mean, your coaching style. So as captains. So I want to step into some general questions, but as captains. What was your style? Did you draw some, or do you were completely independent of your own? I mean, how did you come of your own as a captain?
Right. So I definitely owe a lot to this guy and Daryl for that process. I mean, when I was a freshman and sophomore, I'd always look up to him on the field as just the most dominant guy out there. Not necessarily like in his play, which was great, but in the conditioning and every aspect of the game and preparation. Every conditioning drill we would do, he would be the first one finished. He's not the fastest guy on the team, but he's the hardest working. And I knew that was something I had to take if I were going to be a successful captain. And I think we kind of stem from that same sort of philosophy of just working as hard as we can to get where we need to be. So that involved a lot of phone calls with him to kind of help me along the way.
A lot of phone calls.
Yeah, a lot of phone calls, and definitely I took a lot from him, and I think I was able to take the aspects that made him a successful captain, incorporate into my leadership style, and hopefully build on that, and maybe even be a better captain than he was. Who knows?
Hopefully. With captaining, I mean, I've learned more about myself captaining than than anything else, pretty much. When I was a junior captain. That transition from sophomore to junior year was my biggest transition in terms of a player. I became a much better player, but it was also because I was more focused on making sure I was doing the right thing to illustrate to the team. Now, when I was a senior captain, I was the main, head captain. My junior year, it was Jeremy and Zach Schick. Jeremy Young and Zach Schick were great captains, and I learned a lot from them. But when I was a senior captain, there was a lot of things that I was doing that I wish I could do differently now. There are times when I would get really frustrated that the numbers for practice weren't there. We're asking kids to come at 4 p.m. or 2 to 5. I mean, in the middle of the day when they have class, or it's during college, so they would rather be drinking with their friends or something. And at times I would get angry at the people that were there. I was like, you got to call them. We got to make sure our teammates are there. And then about halfway through the season, I realized, no, these are the guys that want to learn. All right. In the end, these are the guys that are going to be there when it matters and the ones that are going to be successful. So I really tried to change my attitude toward that in specific. That's just something I remember that I could have improved as a captain. I'm getting really far into this. Sorry, in specific. But anyways, another way that I kind of view captainship is, I believe that you can't tell if a captain was truly successful until the freshmen and sophomores that were under their captainship are seniors.
That was an interesting analytic when you mentioned that. What's your view on that? That's an interesting take.
Yeah, well, it's kind of easier for him because I was a sophomore when he was around, so he's got something to show for it. No, but I think it is important to really be able to have the focus and looking for the future of the program and be able to teach these people in a way that really guides them. And when I talk to a lot of these younger guys that are now seniors on the Santa Cruz squad, a lot of the things they said about me when I was a captain are a lot of the similar things I thought about Greg when he was a captain.
That's nice.
Just being that dominant player, and that's awesome to see, because as a captain, no one's coming up to you and telling you, wow, like great job, great practice. It's a thankless job.
Sure, you're that guy.
And it's definitely rewarding to hear that people 2 years down the road recognize that. Because the biggest hurdle for me as a captain was just that frustration that you care the most. You automatically become a better player because you're spending a full-time job amount of hours working towards this team, while everyone else is just spending the 12 hours at practice.
And it's just so funny. I couldn't say it better. But you when you're captaining, especially, there are times where how you act is going to dictate the rest of the month, pretty much. And when you're a senior captain, when you're the head captain, all the traditions of the program. And the Slugs, Santa Cruz won a championship in 1991. And they brought tradition, and they brought culture, and they brought certain things to the team that we still do to this day. So as a captain, you have to make sure that is included, that is still happening, and those traditions are continuing. And I think that gets overlooked quite a bit. The cheers that we say, the grind. I mean, we have an award, the Sean Ryan Award, which is for the person that works hardest. It was Sean Ryan. There's also a tournament that is named in Santa Cruz. It's in the fall. Sean Ryan unfortunately passed away. He was a Slug that was on the 1991 championship team. Am I getting that year right? I think it's 91.
Yeah, I believe so.
Anyways, so that award is for the person that worked hardest during the year, and not necessarily the best player, just the person that really dedicate themselves to Ultimate and to the team. And it's about illustrating what Sean Ryan stood for and making sure that tradition stays.
Nice. Very cool.
Excuse me, I keep coughing.
It's okay.
No. My throat.
Nice story. Anything you want to add? So, I mean, you were calling up a lot. I mean, you was mentioned. Was that must have been complimentary when Lior was calling you up with all these questions? So many questions.
Yeah.
You said so many questions a number of times.
I would say in the fall there was probably a call every single day. But you know what? I love the program.
Of course.
And I wanted to continue, and I would answer any question that kid had.
Yeah.
Really
we all do. Even today, one of the captains recently, this guy Robert Gallagher, keeps calling me every once in a while, the same way I did for Greg.
Call me.
Oh, what's that about?
So Greg's moved out of the picture, and now I'm kind of next in line.
Very nice.
I never captained Rob, so I guess that was it.
Very cool. That's very nice. So let's change gears here a little bit. Looking down, let's talk about pro and open and observers and refs and the spirit of the game. Where do you fall in the evolution of where these elements are? I'm going to give you a completely open-ended question.
Yeah, sure. I can.
Go for it.
So it's a really good question, and it's one that I get asked a lot, and it's hard to answer.
Really good question. He gets a lot. So there you go. I like that. It's not that unique. I'm messing.
No, yeah, okay, fair. It is really good. It's a hard one to answer just because obviously pro is still new. I said this the other day, but I think pro will take off and really be popular when women are added to the game. I think a mixed pro game would be fantastic. I mean, playing at the Cascades Cup was one of the most
awesome.
One of the best experiences I've ever been a part of.
It was a great game.
I think right now, obviously, Open has the numbers, and Open really has the a lot of people really dedicate themselves to Open. And personally, I really enjoy Pro and Open, and I just want to win everything. I hate to lose with a passion. For the future, I 100% think that there is a place for Ultimate. And I think the spirit of the game is still there in both Pro, and you see it when there's a foul called and it's overturned, or if someone believes there's a foul. Ultimate is a very unique sport, and I say this to kids that I teach play Ultimate, and parents that they're asking me why Ultimate. It's a very unique sport because it's conflict resolution. I think that's one of the most positive aspects of it. It's teaching kids, and I've seen it myself, like teaching kids how to have a conversation and resolve it. And that is pretty unbelievable to have during a sport where you're, getting your frustration out technically. Right. So just what we're seeing with, the Olympics, potentially, that'd be amazing. Probably much after I am retired. But with what we're seeing with the Olympics, what we're seeing with seeing it on ESPN, seeing it on Top 10 all the time. Tuan, nice job. And seeing where it is right now in terms of high schools and middle schools. I truly believe, if this is the question, I'm sorry if you were trying to ask.
It's okay.
It. I kind of went off on a tangent, but I truly believe there is a place, and I think both pro and club have a space for that.
Yeah, Greg kind of hit it on the nail there. I think it's really powerful when you take some of the most competitive guys out there, and even the highest level of the sport possible, guys and girls out there, and they're able to put that aside and have these conversations in a civil way. And even though they're all working the same amount Greg and I do in the off days, putting in all this time for this one moment, and a pivotal call could make or break that, that's still a conversation that's had in a civil way. And I think that's really powerful looking forward, and something that makes the sport really special. In terms of where pro and USA Ultimate will align with in the future, it's hard to say where I'm standing at now, but all I do know is I love playing both, and people are out there and watching because we all love the sport. Yeah. So,
and to your point, and great answers, thanks, gentlemen. And to your point about Greg, about that, there's a spirit call within that will overturn a ref's call. Yep. And that's really refreshing when you don't have the beauty of let's go to the Jumbotron. Yeah. You can discuss it, and it's like, yeah, you're right. And I love when maybe the offensive player's making the appeal to try to say, come on, man, you did wrong. That's wrong. That's very funny. Some people make the appeal stronger than others, but you can still see it play out. Even when there's no appeal, like, you know what, that you got it wrong.
I give the look. I do that.
Is that right? That's fine, but it's nice to see it when it plays out, and it's been overturned, and it's nice.
Yeah, I really like that aspect of pro, and I'm refs are. I do like playing with observers. I do like playing with observers a lot. I've always thought that I play an observer-safe game, if that makes sense. I think there's different types of games, and a lot of people hate playing with observers. I just think they do add to the game. And I think it's really positive that the pro leagues put that part in the rules.
I like that. I like that, paying homage. So let's change gears for the Olympics. Paris got 2024. I thought LA would. I thought if Ultimate is going to be introduced to the Olympics, I think it's going to be on American soil. Mm-hmm. So what if it does come to fruition and it does happen? What iteration of the game do you think will be on display?
I think it's gonna be beach mixed. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I assumed it'd be something similar to World Games, where it's mixed and it'd be a small tournament. But we'll see where it goes from there. And if it were to happen down the road, I'm not sure where I'm going to be at ultimate-wise, but I could potentially play for Team Israel as well because I have dual citizenship.
There you go. No.
Yes. So who knows?
Very interesting.
Hey, maybe I should.
You know what? Think about that. Exactly. That'd be crazy. Walk in.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I think it's going to start with beach.
Yeah.
I just think it's an easier game to sell in terms of the view, because it's a smaller field. It's easier to see at what's going on. Mm-hmm. You can get more of the field within it. Mm-hmm. Also, I think they might change it to 6-on-6 potentially, so 3 women, 3 men at a time. Mm-hmm. I feel like that would be really positive for the sport.
That was good.
Yeah.
Also, beach is a really fun game to watch because there's a lot more layouts.
Yeah, I've only delved into beach while playing at layout, but
what a great time.
Fantastic tournament. Definitely recommend it. But that's an interesting approach. I never actually heard that take before, and now that you're mentioning it, that would make sense in terms of the viewability of it.
So I had some iterations, and over the time I've asked a number of people, and Tyler Grant mentioned that he thinks it's going to be mixed on beach. It's a smaller footprint. If it's mixed, it's less. It's a smaller footprint as far as ecologically, as far as there's less people you have to house in that particular situation. And you can probably turn around beach volleyball and make it into an ultimate field in such a way. But it'll be interesting if it rears its head, but I'm curious to see how it'll play out. So that's good. Well, thank you, gentlemen. So let me shift gears because we did talk about Team Israel and in beach, but you just made the U24 team.
I did. So I'm really excited that come January, I'm going to be representing the Team USA mixed under 24 team in Perth, Australia.
Nice.
So I'm really looking forward to that. I actually looked at flights earlier today.
Called me every day for the week before the tryouts and during the tryouts.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. I met some of the people I'm playing with this past weekend at the Elite Select Challenge. And it's a good group of people. We already have a group me, of course, classic ultimate thing, and a Snapchat group. So been communicating a lot with them, and definitely got to thank Greg for the resource of the workouts and even just being there to have an open ear
it was all you, man.
when I was nervous about certain things.
It was all you.
So is I know Adam Reese was one of the invitees. Is he playing men's or is he on the mixed? Or did he make it? You don't know.
I'm not sure. I just know the people on the mixed team, but.
Adam Reese is crazy good. So you cross paths. Because I know you said you had a couple tournaments you had seen some players that had made the team.
Yeah, just most of the ones on the mixed team. Elliot Chartosh on the men's team. I play with him in club. Okay. Great player. And,
Sawyer, obviously.
Yeah, Sawyer Thompson from the Flamethrowers.
Very nice.
But at the tryouts, it was split into a West Coast and an East Coast one. So I'm not sure if we actually overlapped in that. And there was 50 people at each. So it was hectic.
So how was it to have your flamethrower bud? I mean, you have Sawyer there.
Oh, at the tryout?
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Cool. We flew in together, stayed at the same Airbnb, and occasionally played on the same line. So it was kind of nice having that chemistry and playing with someone that I'm a little more familiar with, because coming into a new group of people that you have no idea what their play styles are like, a lot of them still playing college, which is definitely a different game from club and pro. So it was kind of nice having that kind of anchor to work with. And
he's sort of you're each other human video camera, because if you're in someplace else by yourself, all you come back is your memories, and maybe someone shot some video, but you're able to go, hey, wasn't that kind of cool? We'll share some memories. I thought that was my cool. Like, no, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, he's a funny guy. Always got a smile on his face. So it was fun to just bounce what we thought of certain things.
Big guy, culture guy, good locker room guy.
Good. Awesome. So I mentioned it because when you talked about layout being a good time, that's just the week. Are you going to be back in time to play layout?
No, I'm not.
That's what jarred the memory about you. Yeah. I was going to say you're going to triple dip. That'd be great. Come back from Perth and then go right down to LA.
That'd be too much fun. I got to keep it simple. But we go a week early to Perth, so we're already out there for 2 weeks. So that's going to be a lot of vacation time already.
Very cool. That's very good. So the last thing I want to talk about is when you are, we're going to put on your coach's hat, when you are dealing with a new player coming up, just starting the game, likes the game, what would be that initial tip you would teach a kid? I mean, Greg told you to, bring your fingers together to do your flick. But what would be some of the starting point if they want to make the next YCC or start in their high school team or?
I think the biggest thing is if you want it, it's there for you. I think we're at an interesting point in the game where you're getting only a few guys like Antoine that are coming into it that are just these freak athletes. So really anybody, if they want to put in the hours and make it happen, can. And it's kind of in your own destiny there.
So is it just time with disc? Is there a mental shift? Is it just, get out there and lift and run, or just it'll come and just have fun with the sport?
Yeah, it's a bit of everything, but I think the biggest one is to have fun with what you're doing, because I don't put in all the hours that I do because it's not fun. It's really fun for me to go out there and compete at the best that I can be, because I'm already spending this much time playing this sport. Might as well put in 100% of my effort into it. So definitely have fun is a big one.
Plus you had this freak of nature situation where you had 700 kids watching this game every Friday. I mean, that's awesome. That's a rarity to get you fired up. So anyway, just to shift gears with you. So what would you tell an up and coming?
Yeah, no, the first thing I tell every single group of kids I coach or starting with is, look, you're going to drop the Frisbee. You're going to turf one. You're going to get beat deep. You're going to get beat under. There's something bad that's going to happen on the field. There's every single game, potentially. Move on. Act like it never happened. Just, if you have a straight face, like, there was one in specific. For some reason, my first 2 years on Revolver in the semis of the U.S. Open, it's quite a joke now with the team, I clap dropped goals in the end zone both years. My first year, the next throw, I got a layout D. Yeah. And when I clap dropped it, I didn't show any emotion. I didn't show like it hurt me. I just was like, okay, on to the next thing. And have the idea that you have a full team behind you, because that's how I felt. So
to that point, I've seen team cultures, and this is part of team culture, I guess, as well, that they don't have that mentality. They grip it tight. They make a mistake, and they feel the pressure, not only of themselves, but the team culture is like, why did you let us down, or whatever. No one's there to pick them up. So I got to believe your teammates are there. You knew you had a team behind you, but they let you know they had your back.
Yeah, no, they did. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
They did, but it starts with you. I think their reaction and their attitude is going to be completely dependent on how you react, because you're the person that's doing, you're the person that's dropping it. So if you drop it and start freaking out, then everyone else is going to be more frustrated. Mm-hmm. But if you drop it and you're just confident, you're like, we're going to get this.
My bad, and just move.
We're going to get this.
Yep. Just brush it off.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Having a short memory is good. And what's interesting, within the context of one point, you can go from hero to goat to hero to goat, let alone the whole time of a game. Sure. So you got to have a short memory, very much so, but that's cool.
Yeah, I think something powerful that still sticks with me today is something that Mike Payne mentioned last year about having a physical motion to describe.
Who's Mike Payne?
Oh, he's the coach for Revolver.
Okay.
And one thing he mentioned is to have a physical just motion to signal that short-term memory. And for him, and what I use today still, is just to brush my shoulder off. So when I do make that mistake, it's inevitable, unfortunately. Just brush it off and move on. Very and that's, I know personally what that means for me.
Very good. I like that. So let's take this up another level. And Greg, I know you talked about, you went back and Dr. Dre, you went back in the lab with a pen and a pad. You went down and had, wide receiver workouts. You went high level. So when someone, give some advice for someone who wants to make that next jump. They're tired of playing, middle teams or a lot of pickup. But look, I really want to step up.
Yeah, I would say the first thing is reach out to the local top club team and see if there's any players that will come out and help them out throw. Just because just throwing with someone at the top level is a great idea. And then for working out, there are a lot of trainers here. If you have a gym, if you go to a gym, go talk to a trainer. And then when you are doing the workout, really it's just about getting out there. There are going to be days, as I said, that are really, really terrible. Yeah. There's going to be days when you want to try to, get your personal record, personal best, and you just fail completely, and you can't get through them. Those days are going to happen, and those days are the best days, actually, because the next time you have some fire to beat that.
Yeah, very cool. Plus, I'm sure it's very satisfying when you toe the line, the pull goes up, you're in shape. You put in the time, it's like on. Yeah.
There's nothing like seeing the person you're guarding just tired and sitting in the stack. There it is.
You're just all tired. Yeah, exactly. It's very satisfying. Yeah. Especially late in the game, fourth quarter. And it's like, exactly. Very good.
Yeah, that's what you work for. Yep. Everyone's ready to go, in shape, feeling good, 100% the first point of the game. But it's that double game point. Yep. It's the crunch time is what you work for. Yep. That last lift, that last rep, when you don't want to push anymore, that's the moment.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we're going to wrap this up here. We've had a really good conversation with Lior and Greg. I want to thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
It was great to hear your story. Pleasure. I wish you a lot of luck this weekend. Definitely, we're gonna find out on the back end how it goes. I'll definitely be watching the games, but we're gonna be coming back next week. We're gonna be talking with the coach of the Happy Cows. They just won the YCC mixed championship, awesome. And that'll be Monday. I'm looking forward to talking with the coach Jeff Rexroth, and 2 of his players. So we'll talk to you on Monday. So, Lawrence McKendall, Scuba Licious Ultimate, Greg Cohen, Lior Givol, thank you very much. We'll see you down the road. Take care.
Later.